Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Smith, and I'm a guest moderator today because Rabbi Kerry Chaplin, who usually hosts these Resist Burnout calls, is out for the Passover holiday. I just want to offer a quick introduction of myself, since there's this strange voice on the line. I've known Kerry since we were earnest and energized college students, so probably going on 15 years now. We haven't been in very close touch for the past several years, but I've appreciated little bursts of her wisdom via social media, and these calls in particular have meant so much to me in the weeks, in the last several weeks, in the last couple of months, not just because of their purpose and content, which is so important, but also because they've offered me a chance to hear an old friend's voice and to think a lot about vocation and what it means for people to do work that they seem to have been born to do. So with that, from my home on a very sunny Monday morning in Chicago, I want to welcome you to Resist Burnout, a 15-minute weekly call to restore, regenerate, and return to who you are. Whether you're calling in every week now or this is your first time joining us, we know there is a need or you wouldn't be taking the time to be here. Whatever your personal rituals, practices, or religions, Kerry and the Lab Shul team and I today hope this call will be a way station, one of many, to sustain your commitment and your energy. I'm going to offer a few quick logistics notes. We're now holding this call every week at 12 p.m. Eastern Time with Rhonda Rosen, our meditation leader, and a different inspiration specialist each week. So if you have feedback, ideas, concerns, you can message Kerry Chaplin on Facebook. Also, if you know someone or you are someone whose story could inspire and restore us on an upcoming call, please let Kerry know that as well. Everyone is on mute because of the brief nature of this call, and that means that there are no introductions, but we do want to honor our temporary community of like-minded strangers throughout the country. So please, when this call is over, if you can, post a picture of where you're listening from. Are you listening with cute animals? We want to see them. If you're in a sunny corner of your office, or if you're in your car, we want to see a snapshot, although if you're calling in from the car, please wait and do this when you are not driving. If you prefer, you can also post a word or a phrase that's on your heart or on your mind after the call instead of a photo. In the meantime, I'll just share that we know there are folks on this call today from Illinois, California, Pennsylvania, Texas, Florida, Iowa, Massachusetts, Vermont, BC, Virginia, and other places. It's great to imagine all those shining faces across the country. There are also people on this call working for immigrant rights, for trans youth, academics. We have artists, healthcare administrators, peacemakers, troublemakers, politicos, people who are planning to run for office, consultants, parents, people who eat bread, and people who don't, at least not for these 8 days. We gather on this call to practice our own healthfulness. And this is my favorite line of the call every week. We have just this one self and a lot of work to do with it. So with that, I'll introduce our first speaker. Calling in from Mars, Pennsylvania, Rhonda Rosen has been practicing meditation since 1973 and leading mindfulness meditation for 10 years. She's back today to share a mindfulness practice with us, and hopefully we'll be able to carry it with us throughout the week. And today she is calling in from outside of Pittsburgh. So Rhonda, let me try to unmute you here and take it away.
Oh, hi, Julie. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Julie? Okay, good. All right. So if you're all ready, many religious and cultural traditions include an imperative to work for social justice. These traditions acknowledge the world is broken and call it our duty to work toward healing. We know it is impossible to obtain a pacific and prosperous world for all creatures who breathe, but it is a transgression against the ideal to ignore the work of social justice and ecological health. So how do we hold the imperative to work and the impossibility of full attainment? This is why we need to address the practical issue of burnout. We must counter desensitization or numbing helplessness, which is our natural response to incessant and necessary outrage. There's a story I find helpful from the Jewish tradition. It says that of all the letters of the written and oral teachings, it is our job to hold up just one letter. Some folks may get an elaborate B in beginning, the first chapter heading, and others may hold up the last letter E of the word time buried somewhere in the text. All are equally necessary, and the whole thing falls apart if each of us don't hold up our own letter. This right sizes our job. We must do our part. our part, just one letter. So this enables us to rest in a way that would be impossible if we thought we had to do everything ourselves. This reminds us that this is a communal effort, and we all can tap into the fortitude of the collective. So with that in mind, you have chosen to take this time to rest, to practice resting. And what I'm going to do is invite you to bring your attention now to the breath at the nostrils. I'm saying nostrils, but you can use any spot, any sound, any image as an object to practice concentrating on just one thing. And as you feel the inhale and the exhale and the subtle transition in between, your talkative mind will just keep doing what it needs to do, unwinding ideas, impressions, spinning experience into the familiar. So when you notice yourself daydreaming, worrying, or planning, you can make a note of it. Daydream, worry, planning. And then bring your attention very gently back to this breath. There is no right way to breathe or wrong way. The breath breathes all by itself. And if you ever have trouble focusing the attention, you can count the breaths on the exhale from 1 to 4 and back again. Attending to the breath as if it were the most interesting thing. With just enough energy in the attention to rest so gently on the continuous movement of the breathing. Like getting a front row seat on the sensation. Is there a difference in temperature between the inhale and the exhale? The attention can stay here with the breath, or it can move to feel the body just sitting here, feeling what it feels like to be alive within this body. If your attention is moving down through the body, you may notice places where you hold a lot of tension. Your forehead, your eyes, your jaw. And the only time your teeth need to be touching is when you're chewing. That lower jaw can just hang from the upper jaw. And your neck and shoulders. You can set down any burdens you don't need to be carrying at this moment. You can pick them up again when you need to. Feeling the ribs expand and contract with each breath. Does the diaphragm lock at the end of the exhale? Or with a thought in the middle of an inhale? You may notice your arms and legs might be braced. And when you notice tension, be glad you noticed so you can let go a little bit. As the breath continues to breathe all by itself. For this period of time, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to fix and nothing to create. This is time outside of time. And if you like, you can give this feeling a name or a letter or an image so you can refer back to it anytime you like. Anytime you need to remember yourself and return home to yourself. Here is this breath, simply breathing, whether you notice it or not. So, as you're ready, you may begin hearing the sounds around you, perhaps opening your eyes if they were closed and seeing light and shape and shadow, and bring your attention back to this time and place and bringing this feeling with you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda, for the moment of pausing to breathe and the reminder to right-size our jobs and to do our part in the movement for social justice. Next, we're going to hear from this week's inspiration specialist. I mentioned earlier on the call that Rabbi, Kerry, and I met in college, and that's also where we first connected with this week's speaker, Paromita, who is now an education researcher interested in how we leverage our leadership, formative approaches, and diversity. And she is, I believe, calling in from Massachusetts, and I'm so looking forward to hearing what she has to share with us this morning. Paromita, are you unmuted?
Yes, I am, and thanks everyone for having me today. So I just want to give you a bit of my background and what helps me to resist burnout in the face of social justice work. So I work in the field of education. I've been both a practitioner and a researcher in this field. First, I should say, can everyone hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. And my interest in education actually came from the time when I was delving into social justice interests in college. As a member of our college's social justice center, where I both met Kerry and Julia, we encountered so many different topics and issues: poverty, racism, sexism, and homophobia, for example. And I wondered, given all of these problems in the world, where is the best place to start with this work? And around the same time, in my second year of college, so I'm Hindu, and I started reading the writings of Swami Vivekananda. And while he is known for being a spiritual leader in modern Hinduism, he's also known in India as a progressive social thinker. And in these writings of his, he stated that really, instead of aiming to simply help people out of our own sense of, let's say, pity or thinking that they're below us, we should see people as our equals that we help out, and really we should aim to empower them to help themselves. And the best way to do that is through education. And upon reading that particular concept from him, I thought, well, that's my answer for me personally. Is that a way to help start to resolve all of these different social justice issues is to work through education, making sure that people have access to education, that they that really we're able to empower people by them being able to learn on their own. And so this is what motivated me to enter the field. And in education, over the years, I've faced all kinds of burnout issues, from working with too few resources to wondering if I really had true impact, to organizational politics, for example. And these different challenges we face can drain us and make us feel lost in our work. So I wanted to share some strategies I've taken on to resist burnout that I have learned through the course of my work so far. First, I would say, know your roots. Think about how your family, your friends, your schooling all influenced your decision to go into your work. For example, many members of my father's family were involved in education And even though they could go into more lucrative careers, they didn't necessarily want to work for the British during the Indian independence movement and found more fulfillment in teaching. So there wasn't only that aspect of, oh, teaching's a meaningful career, but there was also, they were aware of a decision that they made that they wanted to go into education to help shape kind of a new society that was growing. Another strategy, and this is a really common one, is know who you are doing this work for. Reminding ourselves of our purpose can make all the difficulties and challenges that we face really worth it. And it's important to remember that the work that we do, it's a privilege for one reason or another because others may not be able to pursue the social change work to the extent that we are able to. In essence, we do have a power that we hold in speaking on behalf for others. So when we do our work, we need to be aware of like, who are we speaking on behalf of and standing up for? And in my work in education, I've seen all kinds of, for example, conflicts between different stakeholders, such as schools, community leaders, and parents, and kind of differences in seeing, you know, what should the bottom line be towards a certain program or a certain policy. Some people may really care about a fiscal impact. Some people may really care about a practical impact. And I think since our group really does also have that awareness of the importance of social justice, I think we do need to be that voice and in every discussion mention some social justice aspect so it doesn't get lost in the conversation of what we should be doing, and it keeps that momentum going for the social justice work, because in the midst of all different other things, for example, administrative issues or funding issues, it can be difficult to get the social justice message out. So understanding that and making sure that your work, where it is at the point it is for the advancement and the betterment of all people, regardless of who they are. And then my third strategy is knowing when you need change. Sometimes we hit a roadblock in our work. It doesn't mean that we give up, but we also need to redirect our energy. And this redirection could happen at many levels. It could happen where we kind of change a method of doing our work, or maybe we need to change the type of work we are doing. I've been involved in all kinds of work dealing with education, from teaching to research to program evaluation to program management. So trying to find, you know, how can you make your impact and what kind of, and understanding that all these different work streams can lead to your common goal of your particular social justice interest. But also understanding that it's a changing world and there are new types of work and communication platforms coming up that as this evolves, so will the ways that we can promote social justice in our society. That's pretty much it for me. Thank you so much, Julia.
Thank you, Paromita, and thank you all for being here together today. May this week offer us opportunities to know our roots, know our purpose, and recognize when we need to redirect our energy. If you can, please post a photo or a few words in response to this week's call on the Resist Burnout Facebook group. And Rabbi Kerry Chaplin from Shul will be back next week, and I'll join you all again as a listener then. Take good care until then.